Good day, I'm Administrator Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering 3 subsphere relics. So, I'll begin today with a quick hypothetical. Say you took a mundane item from our world and time, something common, in this case a fully charged smartphone, and you sent this device back, say 1,000 years in time. It is discovered, it doesn't matter by who, and they, to their shock and awe, find that not only does it give off an impossibly bright light, but it plays music, unlike any they have heard, impossible melodies supported by the sounds of instruments completely undreamed of. It draws a crowd, a following around the device. None understand the little bar in the top right-hand corner slowly ticking down, until the inevitable occurs. The otherworldly, heavenly device goes black. It no longer awakens to the touch, no longer supplies the white light, no longer plays the impossible music. What would become of those people that had crowded around the phone? Would they simply return to their lives, unchanged by the experience? Would they dismantle the device in hopes of gaining understanding? Or would they place the phone upon a pedestal, praying for its music and light to be bestowed upon them again? And as time moved forward and all who witnessed the working device passed away, would their descendants continue their fruitless efforts to revive the relic? Would they create holidays built around the phone, perhaps attempting to recreate the music heard by those who witnessed the phone while it had charge? And how would this affect our current time? There is a close to 0% chance that they would ever be able to make the phone work again. But the effect this would have on culture would be profound. So, given our hypothetical, what do you think would happen when items from another sphere enter ours, and then fall into the hands of the general public? This is what today's subject confronts us with, but before I get ahead of myself, I'd like to mention the Order's Discord to help keep our hunters organized. It's broken up into different roles based on rank and which Earth you belong to, if any. Along with this, we conduct our contracts through this system, so I hope to see you all there. Now, onto our Hunters update. Firstly, the Order's HQ construction is now back on track after the large-scale assault by Alan Thorne and his Necromancer cohort. It has been a laborious task rooting out the typical undead, amalgamation monstrosities and released entropic entities within the base. However, after multiple comb-throughs of the facility, we can now say that it has been officially cleared. The final damage assessment estimates that the whole affair has set back the project by roughly 2 months, which is far less than we initially feared. Much of the destruction was limited to personnel, which, while very sad, does not affect the project as a whole. The actual construction repairs are limited to a number of collapsed tunnels and a great deal of patching needed within the concrete. The largest expense caused by the incident was in fact the construction equipment annihilated during the Slumbering Sanctuary, 5th the Opportunist, and that one guy's battle with the hulking Necromancer. Though their actions were instrumental in not only the saving of the base, but also the thwarting of Alan Thorne, and so they have not been asked to compensate the Order for the damages. While our original focus was on the setting up of the Dragonkin and Metallic shared housing wing, we have now instead, since their wing suffered the least during the attack, shifted our focus to fully bringing the security level of the main complex online. This will give us a much more effective and robust defense if the facility is attacked in the future, and will allow us to continue the project without the threat of harassment. To that point, we at the Order are conducting a mass recruitment drive for security staff. We possess a comprehensive training program, and so no prior experience is needed. So hunters, if you have family members who are at a loose end and are maybe not suited for the strenuous life of actively taking down entities, maybe they should consider signing up for the Order's security training program. Secondly, I am very excited to finally be able to announce the Expedition program. Since our first encounter with the Snowdonia Perpetual Tear, a persistent breach into one of the many subspheres, we have secretly been studying how both it was created and how we may create our own. Today, I can reveal that we have successfully created a way to open and, more importantly, close our own breaches. However, there is two rather large caveats to this new technology, in that it is completely aimless and we cannot use it to close breaches we did not open. We can open our way into other spheres and subspheres, but with no way to deliberately choose which one, and if we were to close the breach, it would be next to impossible to find the same one once again. This is where Stage 2 of the Expedition program comes in. We hope to begin sending manned missions into these unknown spheres and subspheres with two primary aims. The first will be to set up SSBs, or Sphere Signal Boosters, within these new universes. The idea is that with enough placed in the other realities, we will slowly create a fourth dimensional map that we could then use to target our future breaches. The second is the acquisition of equipment, magic, and technology from these spheres that will aid us in our defense against those entities breaching into our sphere. We are still preparing to begin these missions, but it shouldn't be long before they begin in earnest, and we will require hunters to sign up for these operations. So please keep an eye on the bounty boards, as soon a request may be made for those brave few who are ready to make history and be the first from our sphere to explore other strange worlds. Relics can be described in a number of different ways: dangerous anomalous items, windows into another world, and universal refuse washed ashore upon our Earth. Strange, fantastical, and alien objects deposited around us with no rhyme or reason, simply the pure whims of random chance. What's fascinating about these items, however, is not the mind-bending effects they can have upon us, but rather the fact that within their home spheres, they are utterly mundane. As an example, say you took a simple toothed comb, a painfully ordinary item within our world, with the sole purpose of brushing hair, but then you deposited that item within a two-dimensional universe. From the point of view of those living within that universe, the comb would appear as magic, an item that from their perspective can shift in shape and completely disappear simply by moving upon a dimensional axis they have no concept of. The same is true of relics within our sphere, objects that, from our own understanding, should not be capable of almost any of the things that they can do, but can, due to them following the laws of their home spheres. These items are often overlooked, especially by the hunter community, as they typically require active use to become dangerous. However, I feel that this perspective ignores the most fundamental aspect of human nature and the most profound question we all face: whether or not to push the button. If you believe that humanity, when faced with an unlabeled button, would decide en masse not to push it, you've never met a human before. We are naturally inquisitive creatures with a deep need to see what effect will be brought forth from a given cause, and so must be defended from our own self-destructive curiosity. In aid of this, today we will be covering 3 relics currently within the Order's care, with more to follow in the future. Relic 326, Life Within a Jar. Standing 26 centimeters tall with a 16 centimeter diameter, this 3.9 liter glass jar appears at first glance completely mundane. A simple, albeit filthy jar with around a third of its contents filled with earth, a green, almost moss-like substance across the muddy contents, with pools of condensed water sporadically placed. It's only with more careful and considered study that the truth is revealed. Upon the surface of the soil placed within the jar, an entire world is taking place. Near microscopic animals, trees, and even people living their entire lives within the glass container. Comparing the size of these micro-people to ourselves, we can estimate that they possess the equivalent landmass to near half that of our own world, and have been within this closed ecosystem for a great amount of time, if not originating within it. Ruins of civilizations long destroyed sporadically dot the landscape, some estimated to be hundreds if not thousands of years old, while others are regrettably far newer. The jar was first discovered by an individual whose identity will remain classified to avoid any unfortunate incidents from occurring, who, after truly coming to understand what he'd found, went through a slow ethical degeneration. Thankfully, this man kept rigorous notes of his time as carer of the jar, and so we know exactly what transpired. As it turns out, those within the jar can view those without, and the unnamed man, being the first to find them, was quickly viewed as something of a god figure, though thankfully those within the jar lacked what is needed to ascend a being. At first, being overwhelmed with his discovery, he planned to expose it to the world, hoping that by doing so he could improve his own circumstances. However, in a moment of clarity, he realized by doing so the jar would be taken away from him. So instead, he settled into his new position as god of the jar, observing the little people within and attempting to show them structures and even inventions that they could build to improve their lives. In return, the micro-civilizations worshipped the man, each society in their own way, conducting rituals and ceremonies of thanks in hopes that he would bestow more wonders upon them. Thankfully, he had had the sense never to attempt to open the jar, as this would almost certainly lead to the deaths of all life within, as our own bacteria and fungi would overtake their environment. The gifts imparted by the man saw unprecedented advancement for those within the jar, moving from Neolithic societies to that of the early Bronze Age, with farming becoming commonplace. This all took place over a period of 2 decades, with the man spending full days simply watching the world within the glass, slowly but surely allowing his own life to fall into disrepair. He had effectively become just as trapped as those within, his entire world locked behind glass, the responsibility of caring for those within or consuming. But man was not meant for such complete altruism, and finally he reached his breaking point. A moment of clarity, where his own life outside of the jar fell into crystal focus, and what he saw disgusted him. 20 years of his own life completely gone, living alone, penniless and filthy. The rage this inspired was horrendous. His life, the little people had stolen, even if inadvertently, could never be returned. He shook the jar, only once before realizing what he had done, but it was enough, and their societies fell. The man contacted the police, and they in turn contacted ourselves, and so today the jar is within our custody. Those within have not reached the same heights they were once at, with the jar's population being cut by 99%. But there is hope. Small, desperate collections of people have begun to find each other once again. And while it is too early to be sure, a recovery is possible, though this time without our intervention and only our hidden observations. Relic 179. A Talk with the Mirror. A roughly 20 cm tall by 17 cm wide shard of mirrored glass, Relic 179 should not be looked into under any circumstances. When it originally fell into the Order's hands in the early 1900s, enthusiastic testing upon the item began, as no one could foresee the possible dangers. However, they quickly revealed themselves to the researchers at the time. Note: please keep in mind that this was before even the death penalty was removed from British law, and so testing upon condemned prisoners, and more unfortunately debtors, was commonplace. The subjects were individually placed within a locked stone room with Relic 179, the researchers standing upon the opposite side of the reinforced steel door, it built to allow sound to pass but not allow anyone to look within. The initial experiments were confounding, with each subject following a similar series of events. First, a gasp or expletive of shock, followed by what appeared to be one side of a rather strange conversation. As the subject continued this one-sided chat, they would become audibly more distressed, building to the point of near frantic despair, until suddenly the room became quiet. When opened, the researchers found, every time, that the subjects had taken the most immediate escape, still clutching the bloody shard of mirrored glass in their hands. It was only after a subject bearing the Trinity Celtic knot was used in the test that some of the reality of the relic was revealed. They described talking to a roughly 30-year-old man, overweight, shaven head, a ginger beard, and green eyes, but otherwise perfectly average, who could only be seen within the mirror. From the subject's report, we know that the two talked about the world and those within it, but more importantly, the subject then attempted to test this assertion, probing to see if the man knew details of the subject's life that they otherwise should not know. Not only did the man know every detail, but this horrified the subject even with the Trinity knot, who was disposed of while screaming the words, "This is what he said." Knowing that those with Trinity knots had some defense, the researchers switched to only using such subjects and continued their investigation until the whole picture became clear to them. The details of the outcome will remain secret for sanity's sake. However, I will note that on some occasions other people appeared within the mirror, each claiming to have the one they were talking to, but not claiming to have the entire world. Relic 179 is now locked within a storage box within one of the Order's archives. The results of these tests, being too dangerous to be made widely available, are kept secret. As while learning of the information secondhand is safe due to cognitive dissonance, it may inspire the foolish to attempt to claim the relic. Also of note, there may be some redactions within this report, picked up by the Order's automatic sensor system. Relic 831, the wooden analog computer. This item was initially a 30cm wide, 20cm tall, and 18cm deep wooden contraption consisting of many gears, ramps, and steps that a series of small wooden balls would move through. Originally, one could, with a series of abacus-like devices, input a mathematical query that would then set the device into motion, with the small wooden balls moving around the machine in an almost hypnotic way, until eventually ending with the answer to the equation given with the number of balls ending up at a specific point. At the time, the item was considered harmless and effectively mundane. However, this changed rather starkly after testing began. It was given due to its perceived safety to a small group of junior researchers to work upon, and rather predictably the first thing they did was give it a question where the answer would be larger than what the machine could display, the initial maximum being 10, and the desired result being 42. Relic 831 attempted to supply a satisfactory answer. However, unable to do so, the machine appeared to break down, becoming jammed. Being late in the night, the junior researchers tabled the project until the next day, when they would attempt to repair the device. However, when they returned, they found that Relic 831 was displaying the correct answer of 42. The machine had increased in size. It was now 1 meter and 26 centimeters wide, 84 centimeters tall, and 75.6 centimeters deep. Reviewing the security cameras, it was found that the relic had literally grown, gears growing then dividing into their new positions, new tracks, splitters, and even a carousel being created, and enough of the wooden balls spawning to complete the equation. What startled all, however, was how the growth of the relic had smashed the containment box it was within, a steel chitin-enforced container that is standard for unknown relics. What was discovered was that the machine grows to the size needed to answer the question, in this case multiplying each dimension by that of the answer, so multiplying each by 4.2. But what if the junior researchers had decided to ask the machine a more ambitious question, such as one where the solution was in the billions or even trillions? The entire event could have easily caused an end-of-the-world scenario, and did result in much stricter controls over what a junior researcher is allowed to work upon alone. Today, Relic 831 is kept under lock and key, while we attempt to find a way to permanently destroy it, as so far it appears impervious to any damage. So, as hunters, what is your part in dealing with relics? Well, as they are typically less outwardly obvious when compared to entities, we do not place specific bounties for these items. Instead, we maintain an open bounty for any and all that are discovered and handed over to us, though due to an unfortunate incident in the 1960s involving mundane folk art, we reserve payment until the object's anomalous nature is verified. For those looking to take advantage of the open bounty, we suggest a few key strategies. Firstly, do not bother looking for freshly breached examples. This is a proverbial needle in a haystack scenario, and as such, a time waster. Instead, it is more productive to wait until they are discovered by the general public, then moving in to claim them. Secondly, knowing where to look. There are a few hotspots where such items eventually seem to end up. These can be antique selling shops or museums dedicated to the strange. Both are worth periodically checking. Finally, with the advent of the modern times, those who find such items are very likely to immediately search for an explanation online. This will lead them to some very specific places upon the internet where, simply by the questions they ask, you will be able to determine if they possess a relic. Once you're certain, you can put in a request for tracking to locate this individual and the object they possess, thus giving you the ability to claim it. It is vital if a civilian has witnessed the anomalous via a relic that a recontextualizer is used upon them to maintain the veil, but mostly to preserve their own sanity. They will not thank you for confiscating the item from them, but know that it is for their own good. Relics are an amazing view into another world. Remember that each item we have discussed is most likely commonplace in their home sphere, as normal there as plastic bottles are here. These odd items fire the imagination, inspiring a desire to know what world houses such oddities, but also knowing that we will most likely never know. Even with the inherent dangers involved with viewing such a world in mind, the urge to look is strong and all-consuming. Perhaps this is why most of these items are kept under lock and key, as we, as a species, simply must push the button. But that will be all for today. So, with Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.